Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
It's over! Fly, Eagles, fly!
Celebrate the big win with the official licensed Super Bowl champions gear. Available now at NFLShop.com.
The Eagles win it! Super Bowl 59!
From jerseys to hats to must-have collectibles, we've got everything you need to rep your team with pride. Don't wait. These styles won't last. Shop now at NFLShop.com and gear up like a champion.
Let's go, and good morning to you. This is 9 to noon on a beautiful Thursday in the neighborhood, and there they are. Let's start with some excitement. Go back a couple of days to this.
Looking to get it, and it comes to SGA. He's got it out by midcourt against Anthony Edwards. He'll stop, he'll pop, he'll fire on the three. It's off the iron, no. Rebound tapped out. The horn will sound. The ball game is over. The Wolves have done it. They've rallied from 25 down in the third quarter to tie the biggest comeback in franchise history. They finished regulation on a 16-0 run, and they win it in overtime. 131-128 is the final. Unbelievable.
Alan Horton on the call, and we begin 9 to noon with Chris Finch, head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and twoharvest.org, along with Prize Picks. I'm Paul Allen. Brett Blakemore produces today, and here comes the head coach. Chris, good morning, and what was the locker room like after that come-from-behind win at OKC?
Yeah, good morning, Paul. Certainly excited, as you can imagine, and then pretty tired pretty quickly. A lot of energy was exerted to come back, which is what you would expect. But no, guys were really pumped. I think they were really pumped and happy for the young guys in particular. You know, kind of spearheaded that effort coming down the stretch. And it's just one of those games that continues to kind of forge the team.
Could you feel like the or what did the arena feel like? I mean, you're focused on the game during that 16-0, and it's rare what happened the other evening at the OKC. Yeah. But could you feel like the fans in the arena gasping and like all full of tumult and teeth gnashing?
Yeah, actually, you could have. We got very quiet, as you can imagine. Again. But it's just kind of everybody gets a little tight, and you can kind of those things just start to snowball in both directions. We've been on we haven't been on the other side of a 25-point collapse like that, but you've been on both sides of that enough times in your career to know what it feels like. When you just need one shot to go in and it doesn't, and just trying to hold on and hoping the game ends a little bit sooner than it's supposed to get the win. people get tight and a little bit of anxiety and all that.
Yeah, those guys are good too, and I know you have a lot of respect for their coach. Why do you think you guys play them so tough, almost no matter the personnel you have available?
Well, I mean, it begins and ends with SGA, and we're fortunate enough to have multiple people to try to guard him because he draws fouls at such a high rate. If you only have one guy you can really match up with him well, that guy's going to be in foul trouble most likely. We have a lot of different guys who can contain him. From Jade and to Anthony to Jalen and Nikhil now. Terrence Shannon actually got on him and did a pretty good job a couple times. And we change up our look enough times. We trapped them, we zoned them, we just we've learned that you can't just play them in one coverage the entire time. And then they've traditionally struggled with size. They've done a good job going out, and they've gotten Hartenstein to go alongside of Chet. Now Chet was out the other day, but you can get him on the glass. You can beat him up where size matters. And we've, the last couple of years, we've been a bigger team. So, I can think it's just one of those matchup issues.
And obviously, you're super negative when you're down 25. But so, when did you know you legitimately had a chance to get the money while charging back from 25?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we could win the game when we got it to 12. Even though that was kind of late in the game, 5 minutes left or something like that. I just thought, found a rhythm here. We're getting stops, and you could see in a little bit in the Oklahoma City's eyes where they were just kind of hoping the game was going to end soon when we made a little run. But still a long way to go. But at 12, I thought it was possible. He said this post game, full disclosure, PA, when we were down 19 with about 10 to play, I almost pulled Jaden and Nikhil. I had Terrence, Jalen, and Rob Dillingham out there, and I thought, okay, maybe we'll just finish this game with the young guys and get them some good minutes here against a good team. But then at 19, we cut it to 17, and then I was like, well, let's go back. I put Nas back in the game just to see what happened at about down 17. And then next thing we're down 12 pretty quickly. We trimmed it from 17 to 12 kind of quick. And at that point, I was like, let's just, let's see where this goes now. So it's just, it's weird. I mean, it's in the league today, we've talked about it before. It's just so volatile. There's so much variance with the 3-point shot, the pace of the game, and everything else now. It's just, these 20-point leads aren't what they used to be.
Right. And lastly, on Tuesday, what's the day after big take from the other night? Is it excellent fortitude and tenacity to come back and win, or guys, how about we don't trail by 25 to anybody, any place?
I think with this one in particular, it's the former. It's the excellent tenacity, the fight that you don't give up. I mean, we've played that team 3 times in the last 4 games. We threw everything at them. We like I said, we trapped them, we zoned them, and it's a bit of a playoff series. PA. I mean, by that time they had figured out the adjustments that they wanted to make. We had a physically grueling schedule. We got back from Houston at 4 a.m. on Friday night. Well, Saturday morning, I guess it was. We played Sunday at 8:30. Flew down there, got to OKC at about 3:30. So did they. In all fairness, we've been down a few bodies, and again, we're not making excuses, but you could see early in the game, I was like, this is one of those games we just don't have a lot in the gas tank. I could tell. We're trying to do the things that we wanted to do. We're playing hard, and it's just not working right now. So, fortunately, young guys came in, gave us the lift. They've been playing phenomenally well, and that's exactly what we needed. So, I didn't feel it was one of those games where like we played terrible and we were down 25 and we didn't have, and we didn't care or anything like that. I just thought it was like, kind of everything in the last 72 hours was kind of, or in the last 3 games against Oklahoma City was kind of coming together,
right,
building up at that time. So.
Yeah, it was beautiful, man. Hey, Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, 9 to noon on this beautiful Thursday in the cornfields. I read DiVincenzo practice. Do you get him tonight to check Luka on the perimeter?
We'll see. I mean, obviously he's got to go through. He's close, and he's been going through live and full practices now. And we'll see how he reacted to yesterday's practice, and whether he feels good to go and is cleared medically. But he is very, very close, I can tell you that.
All right, so whether you get Dante tonight or against Utah or in the very near future, he hasn't played in a month and a half. So from a coaching standpoint, Chris, any precautions when they return, or is it just full throttle action?
Well, most of the time these days, everyone comes back on some sort of minutes restriction, and I'm sure he'll have one. I don't know exactly what that would be. And that's just smart. I mean, it's really hard, particularly this time of the year, to come back and join a team. Everybody's moving at 100 miles an hour. You're coming on the on-ramp, and, just to get caught up to speed, it's going to take a couple games.
Yeah, it's crunch time in the old association, as you know. So with DiVincenzo, we got that. Gobert and/or Julius, are they close?
Yes, both of them are also close. We don't anticipate either of them in the near future, but they're both like going in the right direction, and so hopefully, we'll be able to get those guys back soon too. Okay,
now I'll follow that, but specifically with DiVincenzo, who seems closest, and I love they're going 100 miles per hour and the on-ramp analogy here, because when you get the full band back together again, and with, let's say, I don't know, 20-ish%, maybe a little less of the season to play, is it fair to say you'll have to guard against like cohesive rust? And Ant's game, his offensive game, for sure, is going to change somehow, right?
Yeah, no doubt. When we get fully healthy and have an entire complement of players, reintegration is going to be key. Everybody's role, and is going to have to accommodate each other's. We've got guys that have played in the absence of these guys who've been out, who, might now play situationally. Minutes will come down for certain people. It's just, we're going to have to, everyone's just going to have to buy in. And we're going to, we have the advantage of being a deep team now with guys that have proven that they can help us. And, it's going to be a puzzle that we're going to have to figure out every night. But the most important thing is the acceptance of that by the players.
What do the Lakers look like these days with Luka Doncic in the fold?
Yeah, they look good. I mean, they're slowly figuring it out. Of course, it takes time, particularly when you make move with a guy with that magnitude. So, LeBron continues to play at an extremely high level. I think that's been key for them all season. And that's really, in my mind, still the biggest driver of success is when he's able to have these big nights, both. And I've been impressed with his defense of late. And this year, many times, he's been a difference maker on defense. Luka looks a little more comfortable every time he plays. He looks like he's deferring less. He comes here. There's not many players in the league that a guy like Luka Doncic would defer to. Of course, LeBron would be one. I think that's just that kind of calibration is just going to take time between those two. But it looks a little more comfortable, every time they step out there. I think, mentally, I'm sure, Luka's still processing everything, and the longer that goes on, then obviously the better he's going to play and the more comfortable he's going to feel. But overall, they look really good. They got, they're healthy, I think, for the first time, completely healthy. over this period of time, and they've won 7 of their last 9. And they've had some big wins in there too.
Yeah, but they come out of the break and they lose at home to Charlotte. I mean, it's like everybody's excited. It's like, hey, Luke and LeBron been practicing together. This has to be better, right? And then they lose at home to Charlotte. But in winning their last 3, and you mentioned defense here, Chris, they're holding teams to about 100 a game. And Luke has never been known for his defense. What's good about their defense?
Well, they got a couple really good defensive players. They made the trade for Dorian Finney-Smith, and before the trade deadline. That was before the trade deadline. So he feels like he's kind of locked into place now. They got Jared Vanderbilt back from injury. He gives them versatility and toughness defensively. We know what that looks like. He was really good for us in that role. I told you LeBron is now playing defense at, probably the most engaged and active level I've seen in the last 5-6 years for him.
Yeah.
And they know losing Anthony Davis, sometimes there's an awareness that goes on. We're like, hey, AD is no longer here to fix all of our problems. So we got to be better across the board.
Shams reported Jalen Clark is getting a fully guaranteed 2-year deal from you guys, which rocks if true. What are you digging about him the last handful of games?
Man, just his maturity. I just love his maturity as basketball maturity. Understands like who he is, plays to his strengths, really can execute a game plan. For a young player who's kind of first time being thrown into the mix, he doesn't make many mistakes at all, and that's invaluable. Everyone asks me like, hey, what does so and so have to do to start to help you as a rookie? And this, the first thing it comes down to, Paul, is that it's saying if rookie quarterback, what do you want that person to do? You don't want him to throw interceptions. You don't want him to take unnecessary sacks. You don't want him to audible out into bad situations. Like, no different than rookie player. Just go out there. First thing is don't hurt the team. And that's not a negative thing. It's just like, be solid, play within yourself. He's mastered that. And from that, once you do that, you can then find ways to use your game that you can really help the team and get opportunistic buckets and take some chances with calculated risk and those types of things. And he's got a great feel for all that.
And I just back to the OKC game for a second. It just hit me. I just loved the aggressiveness and leadership McDaniels displayed at the end of that OKC game. He was just a demon out there. What did you think?
Yeah, he's been on a tear in the last, I would say, 6 weeks or so. It's the step that we've needed him to take this season, and I think he's been ready for it all along. I think we saw it coming a bit in the playoffs last year. Then when we made the trade, we spent the bulk of the early season trying to integrate and get the new guys, Julius and Dante, into the team, settled, happy, figure out like the new rhythm and reality of our team. And unfortunately, Jaden probably was the biggest casualty of that, just because he had to kind of take a back seat while we figured the other things out. And through a little bit of attrition, now his opportunities come. And what's key is, as we move forward, is we keep him in the space that he's in now and playing as much as he can to the way he's playing now.
A couple to close here. Thanks for the time, Chris. I know it's early out there on the West Coast, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland and 2harvest.org. Chris is on the board for Second Harvest Heartland. So go to 2harvest.org and help if you are so inclined. I read that we have Bones Highland. Bones Highland, what a world. Talented young man, isn't he?
Well, these are things I'm not able to comment on these things right yet, because
Sorry about that.
That's the way the NBA goes. So.
My bad. Well, see, I'm looking at Bones Highland's Twitter. So he commented on it. Bones Highland, what a world.
Okay.
All right, lastly, how about this? I just got confirmation on it this morning. Kevin Lynch and I are calling the Spurs game March 9th on the radio because Alan Horton is doing some TV. I've never called a basketball game, so that ought to be a treat, right?
Yeah, that's fun, man. I got to make sure I get the audio of that.
Well, I mean, here's how you can do it. Maybe you get up by 40 and come call a quarter with us. Get it like 10 minutes to go in the game. Chris Finch joins us with Kevin Lynch. I'm Paul Allen. Alan Horton's on TV. That'd be sweet, wouldn't it?
Funny, yeah. But I'd love to be up 40. Trust me.
All right, I'll see you really soon. And God bless you, man. Safe travels. Thanks for the time, and best of luck the next two. All right.
All right, thanks, dude. Take care.
See you, bud. Chris Finch, coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, weekly 9 to noon, courtesy of Second Harvest Heartland, 2harvest.org, and Prize Picks. It's 9:19 in the neighborhood being FM 100.3, KFAN. Yours truly, Paul Allen, back from Indianapolis after 2.5 days at the Indianapolis NFL Scouting Combine. We have some Combine Covenant catch-up interviews that we are going to unfurl the next couple of days. And the first is right around the corner with Vikings Senior Vice President of Player Personnel, Ryan Grigson, with Pete Bursich and yours truly. This is a Brett Blakemore production, and I'm Paul Allen. All of that is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. You're listening to FM 100.3 KFAN, and good morning.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Get ready to laugh out loud. Comedian Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias is coming to the Island Event Center September 6th and 7th. Don't miss out on a night of iconic jokes and nonstop laughter. Get your tickets today at TICasino.com.
All right, welcome back to Indianapolis and the 2025 National Football League Scouting Combine. Very happy now to be joined by one of our favorites. He's Ryan Grigson, Senior Vice President of Player Personnel for the Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Pete Bursich and yours truly, all of us here with the Vikings Entertainment Network, a couple of days late, but happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, happy birthday. It was Sunday, right?
Sunday. Yeah. Thanks for remembering me. Yeah,
so Wikipedia was accurate.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I had a great one. My family really did a lot better job than I ever do. So they really were thoughtful, and they did some really nice things for me.
It's nice to have the off-season birthday, though, right?
This is, I think, my wife said, this is like only the second time I haven't been in Indy for my birthday, like in 26 years. Or
later Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, it was always down here, and I'd make up for it down here when I was younger with some of my buddies.
Yeah. Well, when you, Ryan, for those who don't know, former general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. So when you come here to the Indianapolis Convention Center, walking around to the Combine, radio, TV, pressers, the whole thing, see any media members where you like have to hold yourself back a little bit from maybe a decade ago and something somebody said?
There might be a couple, but I've gotten over any type of those feelings. Time heals all wounds, as they say. So it's part of it. You know, when you take those jobs, you know that you're gonna have bullseye on your chest. So you got to have thick skin, and you just got to press on and just try winning every day. It's all it is.
You had some really good drafts there.
Yeah, the transition from the end of the season, going through all the evaluations of the guys you currently have, and then free agents with the NFL free agents coming up, and then the draft. We've heard a little bit about this upcoming draft, deep at running back, deep at interior offense and defensive line. Do you agree with that sentiment with these young guys coming out?
I think so, based just on the numbers of when I look, because we have in our system, like I have my own personal grade board of guys, and then we have needs that I focus on summer and then during the season. projecting out. Because you never know, though. You could have injuries, and all of a sudden a position that was deep is a position of need. But I would say that you're correct on those things, and those are good places to have some depth for the draft because, every year it usually gets said that you got to build up front, you got to build inside out, and all those types of things. And there's always exceptions, and everyone loves the weapons and all those things like that. That's what's great about OS is we have some really legit weapons on the perimeter. But I think it does stand to be true. Like the teams that consistently sustain winning, they're strong up front, and they have those type of guys inside to move people, move bodies, and also have a mindset about them.
Now, you being a former game-changing offensive lineman for Purdue and in the National Football League, then we had a back-related situation, and here we are. You forever will have an offensive line bent. When you come to the combine, I would imagine. I mean, that's, you know a lot about a lot, but that may be your expertise. And that's leading me down the road of last year. So Walter Rouse and Michael Juergens.
Yeah.
It's neither one of them, played a lot during the course of the year, but now getting that year and off season, when you get them back for OTAs, physically they'll both probably look different because they're growing still. But what did you notice about those guys you liked as part of the covenant last year?
Well, first of all, to your first point, about being an offensive lineman, like
game changing.
Yeah, that's funny. But I was.
That's your birthday gift.
I was real. I appreciate that. I'll give me some more. I like it.
Okay.
But it's really like I was basically scared into playing mistake-free football.
Ooh.
I had I was coached really hard, and the expectation was just know what you're supposed to do, don't screw up, or else you're going to lose your position. And that was just a very simple approach that worked for me. Everybody's different, but I needed that accountability every day, and it molded me in a lot of ways. And I think that position is one where muscle memory, doing extra, technique. I know, Pete, you played a long time, and there are many guys that were more talented, even you saw in Notre Dame or in the NFL, that didn't ascend to certain guys that didn't have the traits those guys had because they were just so proficient at their craft and so diligent at it. And the two guys you mentioned are exactly that. And you love that in a 6th and 7th round pick. Juergens did not go in an all-star game, did not go to the combine.
Right.
He wasn't written by either of the combines, yet he started 5 seasons in Power 4 football, 4 at center and 1 at guard, where he played really well at guard as well. They're both high-level workers. Rouse is a very big man. I know Kwesi's really excited about him, as we are Juergens. They're both smart. I mean, one guy was a Stanford guy, finished at Oklahoma. Juergens, Wake Forest, graduated in math science in like 3.5 years. Though both those guys have the traits to be NFL starters, they also have the work ethic and intelligence too. Rouse, has got some reps at guard, and with him being so big, he kind of fits the mold of someone that could body someone and get into their pads and be able to move them off the ball because he is physically strong. He's got good quickness, and then Juergens is somebody that's, I thought he did a great job in training camp. He makes very little mistakes as a one-year guy, and he's sticky. He stays on blocks. He gets to the second level, and he's sticky with linebackers. He just has a really good feel for the game, and I think that those two guys, we can hit on those two guys if they continue the trajectory they're on right now.
Are their feet blue though? Are they blue?
The blue is CD has got blue feet. Okay, like let's be clear here. Like, and I think those guys would also recognize that. We'll say they have red plus feet.
Yeah,
because blue is in another stratosphere.
To land the plane on the second year guys, if needed in a pinch, or maybe if needed at the guard position, do you feel that you guys could use one or both of them?
I don't think you could. I think you can never have enough. I think, especially the young ones.
Yeah.
You want to be able to grow those guys young and have them here for the duration, 4 or 5 years. Then you're able to have continuity. And I think everyone gets that. KO surely does. Chris Cooper, Kwesi, and everybody in that room understands how this league works. And the best teams. They have really good offensive lines,
right?
And they've invested in it. It's there are teams that get lucky, and 2 teams I was with went to Super Bowls. We had 7th round picks in college free agents that made up our interior. But it's a different game now. You have so many variations and multiple looks and so many different athletes come into play in the interior now that have so much edge rush ability that are hard to match. So you can't just have a Joe Blow in there anymore. Like before it was just, well, give me a smart, tough guy, physical, that does his job, that's a good technician. It's hard to match with those guys that they're reducing down in different, looks that just out-athlete the offensive lineman sometimes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I do eventually, I want to get to Jalen Redmond, a guy who Kevin O'Connell has credited you with finding, so to speak.
It's a hell of a find.
But we need, what about him? And it was good to see him make some plays toward the end of the season, like some of the younger guys step up and make a couple highlight type plays, and to be able to sprinkle just a few of those guys into a roster can make all the difference in the world, can it not?
I'm very passionate about this because I think sometimes in our league, some people that haven't had to work in those leagues like me, I started out having to work in start out in the Arena League, the CFL, small school football, and just seeing guys that I've said it 1,000 times, that guy could have been in camp with me. That guy could have had a shot. Why is he not getting a shot? It's just not having bias. And you think about how many guys, like Johnny Randall's one of the greatest players in Vikings history was not drafted from a small school. So that right there is enough to say, dig, find players. And that's always been the mantra for me is our job is to find players, not just know who goes on day one. Yeah. So a guy like Jalen Redmond, who had a really good combine, got overlooked, had some injury stuff, and then got hurt in the XFL, but played a handful of really good games where the tape really popped. And it's a credit to our staff that, and I think Flo talked about it, like the 90s set, Kwesi feels like it's set, and I'm here, pushing our staff and our personnel staff on a guy kind of outside the box. But they were open to it because that's what we do. Like, hey, just watch the tape. Let's see if you like him, like I like him. And it kind of built, and we got him, and he couldn't have done a better job.
Are you getting, with the college guys coming out, do you think, a more or less refined product? Because college football, the landscape of college football is changing so much with the portals and NIL and that whole thing. But are you seeing a more refined product from a media relations standpoint? But on the field, how much different are the players now than let's say that they were 10 years ago?
I can't say specifically that an aha moment I had that I thought of something like that. But I would say that if you're older, you're going to be more mature. Guys are coming in now 25 years old, most of them 24. But yet, many general managers are looking at those guys when they come up on the board. We're in meetings, and it says they're only going to be 20 on draft day. That's a lot more appealing.
Right.
So of course, if you're taking a guy at a high pick, you would hope that they were a little younger. You'd hope that they could come be there for 2 contracts. Because if you get a guy that's 26, he's going to be 30, 31 for a second contract. And, that's the line of demarcation, and it's so I would say that I think they're coming in maybe more mature just because they're older and maybe a little more seasoned because they've had to go through adversity of going to 3 different schools or, and so forth, different coaches. It's a whole different landscape now, but I would not say nothing like hit me across the face that I thought was different.
See, I'm glad you said that. Ryan Grigson, Senior Vice President of Player Personnel for the Minnesota Vikings from the Indianapolis Combine. It's the players who go to all the schools. Okay, so like this Miami quarterback Cam Ward, you had Incarnate Word and in another place, and he ends up at Miami. Shador, now granted he's following his dad. He's at Jackson State, then he's at Colorado. But how much extra time do you guys have to put in when you're looking at players who have been at 3 schools to figure out why they keep jumping?
Well, it's funny, but the way it is now, our scouts are like, every time a guy would come up, they're usually like, oh, this is a 3-year study. Because, the guys get the COVID years, or they have all these different years they're getting now. And, guys coming back for their 8th year now. I mean, it's crazy. But I would say that, the these guys that are much older, especially at the quarterback position, it could be seen as a positive. I think it is a positive. Some of them are taking a pay cut to come to the NFL. So that's true. I mean, if they don't go in one, they could be taking a pay cut. So I'm always like, I remember being at a school when I heard that first time a couple years ago, and I was like, geez, I would just stay in school another year if it meant that, they'd be a college student.
Oh, yeah. Think about the money you would have gotten from Shake Shack. Would have been unbelievable.
No, it would have been Bruno's in West Lafayette.
Yeah, Bruno's.
That was my spot. Yeah, or La Bamba burrito. Burrito as big as your head was their mantra.
Ryan Grigson on the 9 to noon show from the Indianapolis Scouting Combine. What's more important to you, the week of Senior Bowl practices or the whole combine process? I mean, when it comes to evaluating and then selecting.
Man, I would have to say, and I hope I'm not beaten up for this, but I'm just being honest. I just feel like the Senior Bowl, because I can get interviews just like this, and we've interviewed guys even twice now from the Senior Bowl in here, but then you could see them in uppers and lowers playing real football, one-on-ones, real football combined with the person that you get to interview. So I feel that's a more full process.
Yeah.
Some people get more out of the positional work on the field and shorts. I do it certain position groups, but I don't place as much weight in others. So it's just my personal preference. But I personally like the Senior Bowl setup better because of the real football aspect.
Understood.
And part of it, you hear the phrase "on the hoof," right?
Yeah.
That means a lot. Right, you get to, because up to this point you've kind of seen them on tape.
Yep.
You guys may have gone to a number of college games. I know that you do that during the regular season as well.
Yeah.
College game on Saturday, come to our game on Sunday.
Yeah.
But actually getting to stand next to them, it matters, doesn't it?
Well, you could size them up, and sometimes you just feel a guy's presence too. Whether it's a middle linebacker that's tough as heck, that is exuding that, and just his general presence on the field, a guy that's serious, a guy that's tough. And O-line wise, we can say, wow, that guy, he's kind of built like CD, or, he's built more like Brian O'Neill, or those are all important, I think. But and then you see the guys that are great looking that maybe don't make a play all day.
Right.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But then there's also guys that we've done this in this process too, that you see them on the hoof and they're a tub of goo, but they're great football players. And as sometimes those guys, for some reason, the guys that I played with that had body types like that, it's kind of a off the cuff comment, but I just feel like for some reason those guys don't get hurt. They just don't. I won't list their names, but just the guys from college through the pros, the guys that I sign in Indy, they sometimes, the guys that are big and yoked up and just wound tight, I mean, it makes sense that sometimes they get more pulls than the guys that don't have a visible strand of muscle on their body.
We, from a combine media standpoint, following stuff, reading, listening, or watching, not being in the room with personnel football minds like you. Interior defensive line, running backs. I mean, we're just hearing, we've had people on today from ESPN, learned draft analysts, who are like, no, there will be starting running backs taken Saturday, rounds 5, 6, and 7, that can help certain teams with what they do. So do you see it that way with interior defensive line and running backs, that this is just unbelievably deep?
I see it more with running backs than I do interior D-line. Like, the studs are going to be taken early at interior D-line.
Right.
Like, people aren't going to be losing their minds to take a running back high. There's always a couple that maybe are worthy of that first round, just kind of historically speaking and over the years. The big guys, the big bodies that can move, hold the point, that can get pressure and disrupt. Those are the guys that, everybody's clamoring for. And if they do fall, it's usually there's a big wart that everybody knows about, and you're willing to take a risk on it. But I think whoever told you that is right, and I think it's been that way for a long time, that you can get really good backs on day 3.
Well, when it comes to, like you said, the warts, so let's call them red dot players. All right, you got 500 players listed. Some have red dots, for whatever the off the field or injury related reasons. What's the process in looking past that, or by faith, knowing we know A, B, and C, And we're going to take him because we believe in the culture here. We believe in, let's say, the running backs room, and we're going to have him by Aaron, and Aaron's top-notch person. What's your standpoint on that?
Well, I think, with Kwesi, there's some non-negotiables, which is great when you're going through 500 names in draft meetings, and you're like, okay, double red dot, we're not talking about this guy.
Yeah.
But you also want to really get in the weeds if it's somebody that's been rehabilitated, because you want to give people second chances. There's so many stories. You don't want to crush a guy for something he did in high school, or early on in his career, or if all of a sudden, in the last 4 years, he's a great citizen. There's guys in free agency now that, had done something really bad in their past, but for the last 8 years, they've been.
We saw that with
good.
Jared Allen.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And it's the human side of it that I feel through the interview process, through all of our, our doctors and our performance people, and all the tests we're able to give them. It's so much greater than when I was, coming out, or you were coming out, Pete, just how deep it is. But you can really get into the weeds on what makes somebody tick. And I think you just come to an agreement, and then ownership sometimes will get involved if it's something that a guy we really want, that maybe we get great value for. Sometimes it comes down to just asking the owner, are we comfortable with this as an organization, having to be at the podium when it gets addressed.
Last one.
A lot's been made about the devaluation of the running back position, and I think recently, even with the Super Bowl run by Philly, what we've seen out of Aaron Jones, the running back position is still very, very important. Do you see that trend continuing in the NFL? I mean, you look at the successful teams and the run games that they have. The run game isn't disappearing by any means, I guess, is my statement. So go ahead and tell me where I'm right and tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, I think you're right in the fact that guys like Saquon, who are dynamic, can really change a game. If it's your more yeoman-type back that is in a system where they pound it and that's an emphasis, versus a guy that has all these blue traits, we talk because he's a blue guy, like he's an elite guy, that if you hand it to him, it might not have to be blocked up perfectly. Now, Philly also has monsters up front. So helps. That's a two-headed monster. So you have a blue running back with a blue offensive line. That's probably going to work out pretty well for you. But I do think that with guys like Saquon, now everybody wants the next Saquon. And, whether they turn somebody into him in the draft, that may not be him, that sometimes happens. But I do think that there's more of an emphasis now because there are some good backs emerging in our league that can change the game. There's some in this draft.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much,
guys.
And late happy birthday to Ryan Grigson, the Senior Vice President of Player Personnel for the Minnesota Vikings from the Indianapolis Scouting Combine.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you want to get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The NCHC Frozen Face-Off is bringing the best of college hockey to the XL Energy Center one final time. Tickets are still available for all sessions on March 21st and 22nd. Don't miss out on the chance to see a champion crowned in St. Paul one last time. Full event details and to get your tickets today, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
And from the 2025 National Football League Combine, we are now very happy to chat with Demitrius Washington into his fourth year as Vice President of Football Operations for the Minnesota Vikings. And with Pete Bursich, I'm Paul Allen. First and foremost, I want to congratulate you on being part of that 50 under 40 group.
Thank you.
That The Athletic.com recently put out. 50 people in the National Football League, coaches, executives, all that, who are under the age of 40 as part of that list, man. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
That's great. It's always nice to get a little pat on the back, isn't it?
Sometimes.
All right. So now, Demetrius, correct me if I'm wrong here. You attended Central Arkansas.
Yes.
And Missouri.
Yes.
All right. So Central Arkansas, linebacker David Walker 6'1", 267 pounds here at the Combine. Well,
yeah.
What do you think of the linebacker?
Oh, no, everyone's heard about it. That's in our building.
Yeah.
I definitely feel good that we're represented at the Combine this year.
Yeah.
Had a couple guys at the Senior Bowl as well, so that's pretty awesome, and good to see us on the map.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah, stay on the map. So, Vice President of Football Operations, what is that for the listeners? What does that mean? What falls under your umbrella, and what is your kind of job day in and day out, so to speak?
Yeah, so it's a lot encompassing. So myself and Ryan Grigson, he's Senior Vice President of Player Personnel, but for me, it's more of I would say it includes analytics, it includes video, it includes football systems. A lot of it's just like integrating different aspects into the organization, creating synergies as well. There's a lot of traditional scouting, of course, that goes into it, but it's more about just an all-encompassing role in terms of making sure that all the parts and things are fitting together to the best of Quasey's vision.
Well, when it comes to meshing analytics or meshing technology with the game of football, I mean, it's with the word analytics. With Major League Baseball, I mean, they kind of, it was kind of OG there. I mean, it was kind of the first one to use it, and it's quantifiable even to fans like me. Mm-hmm. When it comes to football being the ultimate team game, I mean, you can get 10 doing everything right, but if the guard messes up, then it messes up the whole play. And it's a once-a-week violent, emotional game. So, like, how does all that mesh, technology with the fact that football is wired this way?
I would say, to me, that's what attracted me more towards this sport than other sports. Mm-hmm. I think baseball and basketball, they have more of a one-on-one component. Yeah. And football is more challenging. It's 11 on 11. There's very little one-on-one situations relative to the other sports. So from an analytics standpoint, it is much more challenging. Football is also my first love, but just as I was looking into what career I wanted to get into, football stood out from that aspect. There felt like a lot of stones unturned, a lot of things to like accomplish in this sport that I felt like baseball was a little bit more saturated from that standpoint because of the one-on-one aspect of the game. But to your point, it's a very complex sport.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different moving parts. We call it, Quasey and I, when we were in San Francisco, we developed different methods. We call it fixed effects, but it's trying to even out the playing field for each player that we're evaluating.
Right.
So it's not just the data, because there's obviously more data now than ever, mm-hmm. right? And the ability to process data has become a lot easier as well. But I guess it's knowing what's relevant and what's not.
Yes.
And then is that kind of what you're talking about, developing tools for that, whether it's a program or however you can analyze that data?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So just traditionally in its purest form, that's what analytics, algorithms, regressions is all about. Mm-hmm. It's about taking all of these data points and whittling them down to the most important and significant factors to help make a decision. That's honestly what a regression does. So from my standpoint is as I've gotten more into traditional evaluations or just different parts of decision making, leadership and things like that, I try to use that framework as I go through the decision making process to try to just focus on the most important pieces of information and the most significant pieces of information.
Now Demitrius got his bachelor's from Central Arkansas and a master's in business administration from Missouri, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with the master's, the business administration part, how have you seen, whether it's with the 49ers, you were with Cleveland too, right?
Oh, somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah. More remote work.
And now with the Vikings, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, the best job you've had as you continue to ascend. So the business administration part, how does that help you now?
I think for me, it was a lot about the experience of just communication, being able to, whether it's the idea of sales or however we look at the core principles of business, for me, it's more about the communication. I'll say starting off in the league in analytics at the time in 2015, it wasn't as widely accepted, I would say, as it is now. So I think one of the things that we did very well in San Francisco is we communicated the information to the end users in ways that was not only like digestible, but also like accepted in ways that
and relatable.
Yes, very relatable.
Yeah.
From that standpoint, I would say just the business background going to that university just learning communication skills that I'm able to apply in this job today is, I think that's the key to the most important thing that I picked up from that.
Are you a Missouri Tigers football fan? Well, and why I go down that road is because last year, I mean, they had a bunch of people at the Combine last year, like a school record 8 or 9 or something. This year, I think they have like 4 all on offense. But, I mean, Missouri Tigers football, it puts out some sneaky good players over the years.
No, they have. I would say just honestly, I am probably what some people in the streets may call a bandwagon fan, but I don't think of it that way. I do root for them, success or failure, but I do like to see it. But I don't like tune into every game or anything like that. But yes, I did like to see that success there. I do like to see the Central Arkansas players here. So. Yeah,
when I went looking for Central Arkansas players last night, or like greatest in the history of the NFL or whatever, this David Walker, 6'1", 267 linebacker, he's at the Combine now. I watched a clip of him. I'm like, damn.
Edge rusher. Plays with tenacity.
Right. Look at my man roll here from Central Arkansas. All right, this
That's awesome.
This is Demitrius Washington into his 4th season as a vice president of football operations for the Minnesota Vikings. When you and Kwesi got together right around a decade ago, and you, what did you know immediately that you liked about him? That, I'm a follow in this guy's footsteps. I want to be his right-hand man, at least for now or whatever. What did you like about him? What did you learn from him?
Very smart, of course. That kind of just jumps out immediately. But as a person, very accountable. Very accountable as a person. And I joke with him sometimes. I think he's a bit too accountable. There was a situation where I may have wasted a cup of coffee at my grandmother's house. He was nowhere around, and he took accountability for that situation. But that's the type of person he is.
He lays on the sword for a friend.
Yes, and as a leader, if you expected people to follow, I think that's one of the most important traits.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
What do you think the future of analytics is, and how in what do you see? Not specifically, but I'm saying the amount you've seen it changed. It has changed over the last 15 years, 10 years, like you talked about. How deeply is this going to go, do you think? What's the end game? Where do you see it? Yeah, how much more can it be?
I think there's still some stones unturned with the industry. I'll say that I think the level of efficiency is improving. And I think that was, to me, is one of the biggest things about analytics is even if it's as simple as filtering on specific traits that you're looking for, but it's just a collection of data. It's just a collection of information. And for us, I'll say that we even look at it on when we incorporate in certain aspects of the business or of the organization, at times it's just it's things that people have always tracked before, whether it's coaching, whether it's tendencies or anything like that. We just happen to have a supercomputer. So the information's charted for us. We can produce those rates a lot quicker. I think that's been the easiest selling point to begin with. But as far as growth, I think there are still more opportunities to grow with the tracking data that's coming in. There's just a lot more information. So how do we use this information? And to your point earlier, what's the most important pieces of this information that we can use going forward?
And do you distribute that not only because I'm sure there's data points on who you're signing, and developing in the draft, but there's also got to be data points on the players themselves, physically, how fast they're running, how high are they jumping, are they wearing down throughout the season? I mean, that's all part of it as well, right?
Yes.
So you can work with the weight coaches and it's pretty amazing the breadth and width of what you're trying to bring.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I'll say that that's been a big part of my role, whether it's collaboration most of it is just collaboration within the office, but that is a huge part of it, is that the data touches so many different aspects of the organization. So how do we bring all this information together and help make more informed decisions?
Yeah, Demetrius, so when it comes to interviews with players or all right, 3-2, let me rephrase it like this. There is a lot, but there also are always new things. And what I think is super big and prevalent new is not only the NIL that players get, but there are so many players who are 24, 25-ish years old when they come into the league. And, like when you see a player went to college A and then college B and finished at college C, do you become inquisitive with that? Why'd you keep jumping?
I do. That's a great point. It is it has changed the landscape. It's changed the types. It changes the age. It changes the types of players we get coming out. Whether it's judgment or in terms of just trying to figure out why they transferred, why they stayed in school longer, or why they're coming out early now, given all of the different avenues that they have. I think the newest one was the JUCO transfer situation to where, all of that stuff does change the landscape of what we're doing
every year.
So it's just, for me, I'm just taking in the information, trying to understand what they're about, and I think that's never going to change. It's just trying to understand what they're about when it comes to business decisions or decisions people make personally or for their families or anything like that. Like, at some point, who am I to judge on those situations? But just trying to digest all this information, but we are getting a different crop of athletes and prospects than we've gotten in the past.
So lastly, when it comes to like trends or analytics or, things like that during a game, because mostly on the road when Pete and I are calling the games, a booth to the left or right of us, we'll see Demitrius Washington, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, Ryan Grigson, and Rob Brzezinski, and you're a few booths down from us at home. So I'll catch reactions every so often when something good or something bad happens. Are you like, can you predict plays where I'm kind of like this, like, okay, this is a 79%er from the right hash on 3rd and 6 when you set up in 21 personnel and you're facing nickel. Come on, let's go. And then they do it and it works. I mean, that must feel so good. Is it like that?
No, not not that easy. Not that easy. But there are ways to pick up on tendencies, as mentioned before, with the data. But as far as predicting which plays are about to happen, I haven't stepped into that. We do have a couple of people who deal more with the tendencies than I do now, and they're pretty good at it.
The depth of the analytical department, the analytics department. Oh wow, that's cool.
We have a really strong department with Chris Finch, Cole Bransford, and Chenzo. Yeah, very strong department.
You're a very bright young man. It's an honor having you on the radio show and getting to know you a little bit off the microphone around the facility and stuff. Great career, man, and it's going the right way. So best of luck to you. And enjoy the combine, okay?
Awesome. I appreciate it. Same time next year.
Thank you for your time.
All
right.
absolutely.
Ben Lieber with PA in studio. That's next.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
It's over! Fly, Eagles, fly!
Celebrate the big win with the official licensed Super Bowl champions gear. Available now at NFLShop.com.
The Eagles win it! Super Bowl 59!
From jerseys to hats to must-have collectibles, we've got everything you need to rep your team with pride. Don't wait. These styles won't last. Shop now at NFLShop.com and gear up like a champion.